The rain had been falling in sheets all evening, turning the gutters of downtown Chicago into silver rivers that reflected the neon haze of Michigan Avenue. Emily Harper, 24, still smelled faintly of hospital antiseptic even though her shift had ended 20 minutes ago. Her scrubs were damp at the cuffs, her ponytail sagging under the weight of the downpour. She was hurrying toward the L when she saw the woman collapse. It happened fast. One moment the elderly lady in the camel hair coat was stepping out of a black Escalade, the driver's umbrella tilted against the wind. The next, her knees buckled like a marionette with its strings cut. The driver lunged, but Emily was closer. She dropped her tote, slid across the wet pavement, and caught the woman's head before it hit concrete. Ma'am, can you hear me? Emily's voice cut through the hiss of tires on water. The woman's pulse fluttered under her fingertips, weak, thready. Pupils sluggish. Emily tilted the chin, checked the airway, started compressions. 1, 2, 3, steady, practiced, the way they'd drilled into her at Rush. The driver hovered, phone to his ear, barking coordinates to 911. A man sprinted from the shadows of the SUV's open door. Expensive coat, no umbrella, shoes that probably cost more than Emily's rent. He skidded to a stop beside her, rain plastering dark hair to his forehead. Mom. The word cracked like ice. Jesus. Mom, talk to me. Emily didn't look up. Sir. I need space. She's in V-fib. Possible cardiac event. Keep the airway clear. Her hands moved in the rhythm she'd memorized during night shifts in the ER. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. The woman's chest rose under her palms. The man, tall, maybe 35, eyes the color of storm clouds, knelt opposite her, mirroring her posture without being told. Tell me what you need, he said. Stay with me. Count out loud. He did. His voice never wavered, even when sirens finally wailed closer. Paramedics swarmed, lifting the woman onto a stretcher. Emily rattled off vitals like she was reading a chart. BP 80/40, pulse 110 and irregular, GCS 8. Possible STEMI. She needs cath lab. Stat. The man's gaze snapped to her face for the first time. Something flickered there. Recognition. Maybe, or just shock. You're a doctor. Nurse. 3rd year. She wiped rain and someone else's blood from her cheek. She's stable for transport. Go with her. He hesitated, then pressed a card into her hand. Thick stock, embossed. Alexander Voss, CEO, Voss Enterprises. Street. Luke's. I'll make sure they page cardiology. Then he was gone, coat flapping as he climbed into the ambulance. Emily stood in the downpour until the lights disappeared around the corner. Only then did she look at the card. Her fingers trembled. Not from cold, but from the sudden, dizzying realization that she'd just saved the life of Eleanor Voss, matriarch of the family that owned half the skyline. Chapter 1. The Weight of a Name. Emily's studio apartment smelled like instant ramen and lavender Febreze. She peeled off her soaked scrubs, hung them over the shower rod, and stared at the business card under the single bulb above her sink. Voss Enterprises. The name was on billboards, on the sides of buses, on the donor wall at the hospital where she worked. Alexander Voss had taken over after his father's death 3 years ago and tripled the company's valuation. Ruthless, brilliant, and, according to the tabloids, single. She laughed, a short, exhausted sound, and tossed the card onto her desk next to unpaid bills. She had 12 hours before her next shift. Sleep first. Heroics later. But sleep wouldn't come. She kept seeing Eleanor's face. Pale, papery skin, the faint scar along her jaw that looked surgical. Kept hearing Alexander's voice counting compressions in perfect sync with hers. At 3:17 a.m., she gave up and opened her laptop. A Google search pulled up society pages. Eleanor Voss at the Met Gala. Eleanor Voss cutting the ribbon at a children's hospital wing. Eleanor Voss collapsing outside the Palmer House Hilton. The photo was grainy, taken from a phone, but Emily recognized the angle, someone across the street. The caption read, Billionaire heiress rushed to hospital after cardiac episode. Condition unknown. Emily closed the laptop. She wasn't a heiress. She was a nurse with $87,000 in student loans and a mother back in Peoria who still sent care packages of off-brand granola bars. She showered, changed into dry clothes, and headed to St. Luke's before her shift at Rush. Just to check. The ICU was quiet, monitors beeping in soft counterpoint. Eleanor lay propped on pillows, oxygen cannula in place, looking frail but awake. Alexander stood at the window, jacket gone, sleeves rolled to the elbow. He turned when Emily hesitated in the doorway. You came, he said. Not a question. I wanted to see how she was. Emily approached the bed. Mrs. Voss. I'm Emily Harper. I was there last night. Eleanor's eyes, sharp despite the morphine haze, fixed on her. You have steady hands, child. And a kind voice. She reached out, paper-thin fingers closing around Emily's wrist. Alexander says you refused the ambulance ride. Said you had to get to work. Emily flushed. I had a shift. Sit. Eleanor patted the chair. Tell me about yourself. So Emily sat. She talked about growing up in a double-wide trailer, about her dad dying when she was 12, about scholarships and night classes and the way the smell of antiseptics still made her think of her first clinical rotation. Alexander listened without interrupting, arms crossed, leaning against the wall like he belonged there. When she finished, Eleanor smiled. You'll do. Do for what? Emily asked. But Eleanor was already drifting, eyelids heavy. Alexander walked Emily to the elevator. She likes you, he said. That's rare. I didn't do anything special. You saved her life. That's not nothing. He studied her face. Dinner. Tomorrow. My treat. To say thank you. Emily opened her mouth to refuse. I don't date patients' sons. I don't have time. I don't own anything that isn't Scrubs. But the elevator dinged, and the doors closed before she could. Chapter 2. The offer. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't list prices on the menu. Emily wore the only dress she owned, a black wrap thing she'd bought for her cousin's wedding 3 years ago. Alexander stood when she arrived, pulled out her chair like it was the most natural thing in the world. You clean up well, Nurse Harper. You own a suit that isn't wet. We're even. He laughed, and the sound loosened something in her chest. They talked about everything except the night before, her favorite terrible medical dramas, his secret addiction to true crime podcasts, the way Chicago looked from the 95th floor of the John Hancock building. When the check came, he didn't let her see it. My mother wants to hire you, he said as they walked along the river. The rain had stopped. The city smelled like wet stone and possibility. Hire me to what? Be her private nurse. Live in. 6 figures. Full benefits. Your loans paid off. Emily stopped walking. I have a job. You have 3 jobs. I checked. You checked. HR background check. Standard for anyone who touches my mother. He didn't look apologetic. She's refusing the hospital's discharge plan. Says she'll only leave if you're there. That's insane. It's Eleanor Voss. Insane is her love language. Emily stared at the water, black and glittering under the streetlights. 6 figures. No more double shifts. No more choosing between groceries and textbooks. But also, no more autonomy. No more pretending she was just a nurse, not a headline. I need to think, she said. Take 48 hours. Then come to the house. Mom wants to show you the garden. Chapter 3. The house on Astor Street. The Voss mansion was older than the city itself, all limestone and gargoyles and windows that didn't open. Emily arrived in her beat-up Corolla, feeling like a smudge on fine china. A butler, actual butler, took her umbrella. Eleanor waited in a sunroom that smelled of orange blossoms and old money. She wore a silk robe the color of champagne, hair twisted into a perfect chignon despite the heart monitor clipped to her finger. Darling girl, she said, patting the chaise beside her. Sit. Alexander's in Tokyo until Friday. We have the place to ourselves. Emily sat. Mrs. Voss. Eleanor. And you're going to say yes. I haven't. You will. Eleanor poured tea from a porcelain pot older than Emily's grandmother. Because you're tired. Because you're brilliant and wasted on 12-hour shifts where administrators treat you like furniture. Because I need someone who sees me, not the net worth. Emily took the cup with both hands to hide their shaking. What if I say no? Then I discharge AMA and hire someone who'll let me eat bacon and die happy. Your choice. It should have felt like blackmail. Instead, it felt like the first time someone had looked at her and seen the whole map of her life. The late nights, the sacrifices, the quiet terror that she'd burn out before 30. I have conditions, Emily said. Eleanor's smile was slow and satisfied. Name them. Chapter 4. The contract. The contract was 30 pages. Emily read every word in the library while Eleanor napped upstairs. Non-disclosure. Non-compete. A morality clause that made her laugh out loud, as if. Salary. $175,000 base, plus housing, car, and a discretionary fund for patient comfort. Her loans would be paid in full within 30 days. She signed with a fountain pen that probably cost more than her car. Alexander returned on a red eye, found her in the kitchen at 2 a.m. eating cereal straight from the box. He looked rumpled and human in sweatpants and a Harvard t-shirt. You signed, he said. I signed. He leaned against the counter, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. Welcome to the circus. Is it always like this? Only when Mom decides to adopt strays. Emily set the cereal box down. I'm not a stray. No, he said softly. You're the first person who's looked at her like she's breakable and unbreakable at the same time. That's new. The air between them felt suddenly thin. Emily stepped back. I should check her vitals. Emily. She paused in the doorway. Thank you, he said. For saving her. For staying. She nodded, throat tight, and fled upstairs. Chapter 5. The Rhythm of Days. The first month was a blur of routines. Morning meds with Eleanor's black coffee, decaf is for cowards, afternoon walks in the garden where roses bloomed improbably in October. Emily learned the house's secrets. The dumbwaiter that still worked, the portrait in the East Wing that Eleanor swore blinked when no one was looking, the way Alexander's shoulders loosened when he thought no one noticed. He was home more than Tokyo needed. Board meetings via Zoom from the study, tie askew, asking Emily's opinion on everything from stock prices to whether Eleanor could have wine with dinner. 1 glass, she decreed. And only if she eats protein. Eleanor watched them like a chess master. He's smitten, she told Emily one afternoon while they deadheaded hydrangeas. He's grateful, Emily corrected. Gratitude doesn't make a man learn how to make hospital corners. Emily's cheeks burned. Alexander had, in fact, appeared in the linen closet that morning, sleeves rolled, asking for a demonstration. His hands had brushed hers when she showed him the 45-degree angle. She'd pretended not to notice the way his breathing changed. Chapter 6. The Gala. The invitation arrived on heavy cream stock. Voss Foundation Gala, honoring Eleanor Voss's recovery. Black tie. No +1 required. Emily tried to beg off. I'll be on call. You'll be off call, Eleanor said. I've already spoken to your supervisor. Wear the blue dress. The blue dress was silk, cut on the bias, borrowed from Eleanor's closet circa 1998. It fit like it had been waiting for her. When she descended the grand staircase, Alexander was at the bottom in tuxedo black, bow tie still untied. He forgot how to speak for 3 full seconds. You look. He cleared his throat. You'll need this. He held out a velvet box. Inside. Sapphire earrings that probably funded small nations. I can't. You can. Mom insists. Something about matching your eyes. The ballroom at the Drake was a sea of diamonds and ego. Emily clung to Alexander's arm like a life raft. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Who is she? The nurse. Really? Eleanor held court from a velvet chaise, radiant in gold lame. My savior. She introduced Emily to governors and tech moguls. Without her, I'd be pushing daisies. Halfway through dinner, Alexander was pulled away for photos. Emily escaped to the balcony, city lights sprawling below like spilled jewels. She was calculating how many shifts she'd need to work off the earrings when he appeared beside her. Dance with me. I don't know how. I'll teach you. Inside, the orchestra played something slow and inevitable. Alexander's hand settled at the small of her back, warm through silk. They moved in small circles, her cheek inches from his shoulder. I used to hate these things, he murmured. Now I can't stop looking for you across the room. Alexander. I know. Employee. Conflict of interest. Mom's health. His thumb traced her spine. But I'm tired of pretending I don't count the hours until you're home. The music swelled. Emily's heart stuttered worse than Eleanor's had that night on the pavement. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. I'm terrified, she whispered. Me too. Then he kissed her. Soft. Deliberate. Like a promise. The ballroom faded to static. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. The next morning, page 6 had photos. Voss locks lips with mystery nurse. Eleanor cackled over coffee. Finally. I was running out of subtle ways to lock you in the wine cellar. But the board was less amused. By noon, Alexander was in emergency meetings. Stock dipped. Whispers of nepotism. Distraction. Who is this girl? Emily found him in the study at midnight, tie loosened, scotch untouched. They want me to fire you, he said. Her stomach dropped. Do it. No. He stood. Paced. I'll step down as CEO first. That's insane. You're not a line item, Emily. You're. He stopped, dragged a hand through his hair. You're the first thing that's felt real in years. She crossed to him, pressed her forehead to his. Then fight for us. Not for me. For the version of you that doesn't have to choose between family and feeling. Chapter 8. The Choice. The board meeting was held in the Voss Enterprises Tower, 60th floor, glass walls fogged with tension. Emily wasn't invited, but Eleanor was. She arrived in a wheelchair pushed by Alexander, oxygen tank discreetly hidden in a Louis Vuitton tote. Ladies and gentlemen, Eleanor announced, I have a statement. She laid out the numbers. Emily's protocols had reduced her hospital readmissions by 100%. Her garden therapy program, started on a whim, was being studied by Northwestern. And personally, this girl gave me back my son. The one who used to build blanket forts, not just empires. Then she played her trump card. A video from the gala, Alexander and Emily dancing, captioned Humanity in Leadership. The room went still. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Alexander stayed. Emily kept her job. The stock recovered by morning. Epilogue. 2 years later. The wedding was small. Garden ceremony. 50 guests. Eleanor walking Emily down the aisle herself. Alexander's vows were simple. You saved my mother. Then you saved me. I'm keeping you forever. Emily's ring was the sapphire earrings, reset into a band. She still worked. Part-time now, consulting on cardiac rehab programs funded by the Voss Foundation. Her loans were gone. Her mother had a new roof. And every night, she fell asleep to the sound of Alexander breathing beside her, steady as the compressions that started it all. On their first anniversary, they returned to the spot outside the Palmer house. Rain threatened but held off. Alexander knelt, ridiculous in a tux, holding a single rosé. Still counting? He asked. Emily smiled, took his hand. 1, 2, 3. Together. Forever.